Welcome to the Modern Medicine Movement Podcast. Dr. Thomas Hemingway here, and I'm pumped. I'm grateful. Let's go. All right. Oh my gosh, guys. So pumped, so grateful. It's amazing to be back here with you guys. Another day in Hawaii. It's beautiful outside. Oh, we finally got some beautiful, just strong and luscious trade winds, which is our natural air conditioning. It's been crazy warm and just stagnant heat, and yeah, we got our trade winds back and we are pumped. So grateful to be here. So awesome to have you guys. Just love you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of the movement. Recently, I reached out to you guys on my Facebook, on my Instagram about potentially changing the name of the podcast. And, thus far, I kind of decided to hold off because you guys are liking the movement. And I really do love the movement. It is a movement to get back to our ancestry, to get back to the way it used to be, to get back to the way our predecessors did it. Even Hippocrates, he said that way back when, he said all disease begins in the gut. And my passion for gut health and, so many things that we did a little bit better a couple hundred years ago, which mainly related to what ended at the end, or what landed, I should say, at the end of our fork, because we ate real food. And part of the issue in the last 100 years, I think, is we've, decided that maybe we're smarter than nature. We can do it better. We can invent these cool, flavorful substances that are so enticing and tempting, that maybe that'll be a better thing. Or the seed oils that we invented over 100 years ago from the waste products of cotton, the so-called cotton seed oil that literally, when first tried, I think it killed some cows when they were testing it on them way back when. Obviously, they've refined their processing, but it's crazy processing. In fact, I developed a whole podcast related to this that'll be out soon as well, because I just think a lot of this stuff we just don't know. And heck, I'm no stranger. I didn't know all these things either, a decade ago. And I've been learning just like you guys. And I love that I have this medical background to sort of put things in context. But a lot of doctors don't know this stuff. And give them a break, be patient with them, because many just haven't been taught this. It certainly is not taught in medical schools. It doesn't it doesn't make them a bad person, but I really feel like you should be continuously learning. That's one of the secret sauces to happiness in life, is just having that ongoing creativity, that ongoing wonder, that ongoing intrigue, and just inquisitive minds, want to know, not just about celebrity gossip, but we want to know what makes things tick, what makes us tick, I always want to know that. I hope you guys do too. And I think you do, because that's why you're here. You're here in the movement, the modern medicine movement. So grateful to have you guys. Oh my gosh. If you haven't already, please drop a review, especially in Apple Podcasts. That's what really keeps the show going. It helps so many people find the show, because there's a lot of choices out there, and I really feel like this is a great one to spend some time, because we focus on natural health, holistic and integrative health, how we can do things a natural way without necessarily a bunch of chemical, pharmaceuticals and things of the like. I love to talk about how to do things naturally, and you guys know that, my passion. That's why I wrote the book that's coming out later this year entitled Preventable: 5 Powerful Practices to Avoid Disease and Build Unshakable Health. And I just can't wait to get that out to you guys. Be patient. It's going to be better and better with the time. It's lots of editing going through, just lots of steps that happen in the book writing process. And so it's, I meet with my editor once a week at least. We talk about all kinds of stuff, and it's coming to you. And if you want to know and you want to be the first to know, be sure to sign up for my free newsletter. You can find a link to it on my Instagram at Aloha Surf Doc, or on my website, modernmedicinemovement.com. You'll be able to find my link to my free newsletter. You'll be the first to know when the book will be released, how to get your copy early. It's going to be amazing. Oh my gosh, guys, the last 2 weeks I've been on a whirlwind tour of literally meeting with almost 100 different people from the media, both with respect to television and radio and podcasts and things. And so I'm going to start making some appearances, hopefully in the next couple of months, as the book is getting closer to coming out, because I want to get the word out. I have this goal. It's a little bit bold, but I want to I want to really help 100 million people prevent potentially an early exit from this life, because 7 out of 10 diseases in the modern world that claim more lives than anything else, 7 of 10 of them are almost entirely preventable. So I got to get the word out. It's so important. I'm passionate about this, guys. So please help me share the message. You guys may or may not know this, but literally one person in the U.S. dies almost every 15 seconds from something preventable. And so you add that up, we have about 2 million people a year. I plan to live at least another 50 years to get to 100, because I'm turning 50 next year. And so I got to get the word out. I got to get the message out. And I want to help at least 100 million people not die early. As you guys know, I've had some premature exits in my family's life. My wife's father, my father-in-law, he had an early exit in his 60s from literally preventable causes. And it just, oh my gosh, pains me so much to just know that he didn't really get to know his beautiful 2 granddaughters, my 2 girls. And that's not how I want things to be for the rest of us, for you guys. I know you all have family and friends that have illnesses that could potentially be preventable, like type 2 diabetes, which is what he suffered from, obesity, heart disease, coronary artery disease, CAD, or heart disease is literally the #1 cause of death, not only here in the U.S. and the developed world, but worldwide, and it is almost entirely preventable. And so that's what I talk about in the book. That's what I love to share with you guys. So I can't wait. In fact, this weekend, I gave a keynote for an amazing group that's run by a couple of friends of mine. It was so great to be with them, Mike and Deneen. They run this amazing training every couple of months, and I got to be a keynote for them and their VIP Ignite group. Got to share with them and their group just these amazing 5 simple practices, which are all free, that will change your life. So it just brought back memories, guys. I gave the same keynote, as you know, in January, where I was opened for, if you will, by Dave Hollis. He spoke right before me. I got up and shared my keynote right after him. I high-fived him on the way up. We had the AC/DC Back in Black playing in the background. I hope you guys had a chance to see that. If not, get the whole thing. Don't just get my keynote, but get the whole 3 days worth of amazing content at Align Events Live. It was so incredible, guys. I've rewatched it a couple of times with the amazing Patrice Washington, Heidi Powell, Jasmine Starr. Oh my gosh, Amber Lee Lago was amazing. Tiffany Peterson, always wonderful, beautiful, and just with that kind-hearted, sweet message. And of course, my wife, Brooke, was there, crushing it. Alejandro was there, Christopher. It's just, oh my gosh, I hope you guys had the opportunity. If not, it's still available, AlignEventsLive.com. I would love for you to have the opportunity to check that out. And one more thing before we get going, I wanted to announce, I've been kind of talking about it for many months, but I want to get this right. I want to have it released when everything's fully effective and working well. We're going to have our Thrive community, because I love to see people thrive in life, not simply survive. In fact, that was the topic of my keynote, how to thrive and not simply survive. So we have a Thrive community, a VIP paid community, which is coming out real soon. It will literally be knocking your socks off. I'm going to come live to you in the group. I'm going to share content. I'm going to share strategies. We're going to have Q&As. We'll have office hours. It's just lots of cool stuff that we're going to have. I can't wait to share that with you. Look for that Thrive community with Dr. Thomas. It's going to be available this week, and super low price for you guys, because I know, times are hard, and it's basically the price of one meal out, okay? If that, or a couple of coffees at your favorite place. I mean, it's not expensive. It's less than $30 a month. I'm giving a discount for the year. If you want to sign up for the year, it's only $300 or $299 for the year. Or right now, for an introductory time, it's only going to last a couple of weeks. I'm going to give you my latest and greatest course that I released, How to Optimize Stress in Your Life. I'm going to give that to you free if you sign up in the next 2 weeks for this amazing VIP community, Thrive with Dr. Thomas. When you guys sign up, I will give you that new course on how to crush stress in your life, because stress has been so overwhelming for so many of us, especially in the last couple of years. It's literally just gotten to be of epic proportions. You guys probably know this, but the American Psychological Association, or APA, declared it stress and anxiety, etc., the last couple of years, a national emergency and at crisis levels. And I would agree, it's something that we got to get a handle on. And this course on how to optimize stress in your life and crush it will be free for you guys if you sign up for my monthly Thrive community. So it's going to be amazing. Literally that first month will be free because my course, I have it also substantially reduced price at $29 as well. So you'll get that free course with your first month's paid membership, and I hope you'll subscribe for the whole year. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait to be available to you guys more in person, do Q&As, lots of cool content there. You'll be the first to get my podcast even before the release. It's going to be incredible, guys. I'm even going to, so many cool things happening. I hope you'll connect with me there in the Thrive community with Dr. Thomas. You'll see a link in this week's newsletter for that. And I can't wait to see you there. It's going to be amazing, guys. It's going to be amazing. So without further ado, I'm going to get into this week's podcast. It's such an exciting podcast, something that I love to share because it is a podcast on something that many people don't know. In fact, many doctors don't know. And it's kind of a little secret sauce that will help you guys to know not only what will help you live better on a day-to-day basis, but literally this could be that one thing. This could be that one thing that could be a game changer in your life, that could enhance your energy. It could enhance your focus. And also it could literally help you, I know this is weird, right? Help you lose weight. This one thing can do all of that. And it is none other than getting a good night's sleep. And we're going to talk about some cool stuff, some physiology, some hormones. We're going to talk about all kinds of cool stuff with the related, most recent up-to-date research. So hope you're getting excited. Dr. Thomas Hemingway here, super pumped to share this with you because I feel like it's super pertinent for this day because right now, at least 1 in 3 Americans, literally at least 1 in 3 of us struggle with some aspect of sleep. Either it's short sleep, getting to sleep, maintaining a good sleep, because not only just the hours supine, as I like to say, the hours in the bed, but it's the quality of the time in bed, right? The so-called sleep efficiency. So I'm going to get into that. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to talk about metabolism. I'm going to talk about our energy. That's going to be cool. And that actually ties into sleep as well. So it's super, super exciting. We're going to bring in the data. We're going to talk about hormones. There's actually half a dozen hormones that are involved in sleep. Many that you guys probably never even recognized, heard people mention because it's new stuff that's coming out. It's super exciting. We're going to talk about food and cravings and smell and how the heck is that related to sleep or lack thereof? I mean, there's just lots of cool stuff. We'll talk all about why, it's been noted in the recent literature that for some reason, when we don't sleep well, like literally the junk food, that hyper palatable stuff that's out there, all the stuff that's got those not awesome ingredients, like I hate to mention names, but all the chips and the crackers, cookies, the things that you can't only eat one, all that stuff, maybe even my favorite ice cream, why that might be more palatable and more appetizing when we haven't sleep. We're going to get into that. It's going to be awesome. So can't wait to share this stuff with you. We're going to start with just some statistics because I think we need to kind of, get grounded as we get into this because I think for most of us at some point in our lives, this is something that we either have struggled with, sleep, getting good quality and, quantity of sleep. I know for me, I used to have that mantra, right? I'll sleep when I'm dead. Like the Cure mantra. You guys ever know that song? I'll sleep when I'm dead. I just love the Cure. And I used to have that mentality. And, probably part of it was going to medical school and having it beat down into me that, if you don't sleep, you're more strong or you're more capable or you can do more, which is total garbage. Like the more you sleep and the more efficiently you sleep, the better focus you're going to have, the better energy you're going to have, the more likelihood you're going to have to remember and retain things like my medical school and residency and all that. Like they literally tried to beat me down and make me think that sleep was for wusses or for the weak sauce out there. And it's not. Sleep can be your superpower. And I've made it mine. And it's been exciting to see that whole transition. But in the US right now, today, at least 35% of us, 1 in 3 people struggles with sleep. And this is, a couple of years old data with COVID and everything. This has kind of gotten worse. In the beginning, we started to get more sleep because, we weren't going out and doing other things. But then we started binging on Netflix and, all this other stuff. And our sleep quality was going to the tanks and stuff like that. So it's super, super common to have sleep disturbances. At least 1 in 3 people have them. And what may be that one missing link in many people's weight journeys, they might be trying to get that last, stubborn 10 pounds off, and sleep could be the issue. I know in one of my family members, like literally, she has the most amazing diet. She's focused on just lots of exercise, movement, eating quality foods, all this stuff. And like, she's been struggling with this last several pounds. And I started talking with her about sleep, and admittedly, she struggles with that. She's not getting a full 7 to 9 hours. That's kind of the recommendation. Anywhere in between, I shoot for 7 or 8. Some people need 9, but she's not getting that 7 to 9 hours of sleep. And that could be the real game changer here. And maybe you've experienced that. Maybe you're working out, you're eating well, natural, real food, and avoiding the stuff with the bees that I've talked about, the stuff that comes in a bag or with a barcode or in a box. And you're avoiding that stuff and eating real food, which is amazing, but you still can't seem to shed that last few pounds that you want to. And sleep could be that one thing. It could be that game changer. And so let's talk about how this is related. So in the literature, there's dozens of studies that basically show a correlation between lack of sleep or decreased amount of sleep, both in the quantity of hours as well as in the quality or the efficiency. And as that number goes down, you're getting less sleep or less quality sleep, the obesity rates goes up. Okay, so there's literally dozens and dozens of studies. A recent one I looked at was a combination of studies that's called the meta-analysis, but it literally looked at over 300,000 people. That's a good amount of people. And the N was large because the number of people was large because they combined a lot of different studies, put all the results together, try to get a summary for us to kind of understand this. And so that's called a meta-analysis. And in this, they basically found that those people that weren't sleeping well, and in this study, they said less than about 7 hours a night, they had just decreased sleep duration, were at a 41% increased chance of becoming overweight or even obese. Other studies have looked at also this so-called body mass index. That's the thing that kind of measures if we're becoming overweight or obese, the waist to hip circumference, so to speak. Like as we decrease in our amount of sleep, typically that body mass increase is doing the opposite. It's increasing. We're getting bigger, and it's not what we want. It's not what I want. It's not what I want for myself, my family, or for you. And we're going to talk about that, like what's going on with that. And most sadly, I have, as you guys know, I have 6 kids, and it's amazing. I love it so much. But what we're seeing trending, not only in adults, but also in kids, is that when they aren't sleeping well, either poor quality or not enough hours, and kids need more sleep than adults. Many people know this that have had young kids, especially babies, toddlers, and adolescents. They definitely need more sleep than we as adults. They can't get away with the 7 hours that maybe I can get away with or what have you. They actually need more sleep. And in recent years, not surprisingly, with the advent of these, tablets and phones and games and all these things the kids love to do, they're staying up late into the night. And guess what? They're getting more overweight. Childhood obesity is skyrocketing similarly to adults. And this just pains me because I got 6 young kids and I don't want this to be their future. And so, just cut to the chase of some of that right now is like, don't give them a device to have in bed. Like, holy crap, these kids might, just maybe they're under the covers and they're sneaking it or whatever, but don't let them go to bed with their device. Like, they will probably stay up late, and guess what? Decreased sleep quality, decreased sleep quantity, lots of increased likelihood to become overweight. That goes for us too, okay? If we're going to have our kids put the devices away at bedtime, we should also be doing that. Plus, it's going to mess with our quality of sleep anyway. We've talked about that in other podcasts on circadian rhythm, that basically blue lights late into the evening totally mess with another hormone, right? Melatonin, which we're not going to talk a lot about in this podcast, but it basically delays the onset of melatonin, which helps us to get to sleep. So the later we're looking into our devices, the more issues we're going to have. So let's all get away from our devices at least 1 hour before bedtime. Make sure our kids are not taking them to bed as well, because this is going to mess with our sleep. So let's get into the hormones. Hormones are so fun to talk about. There's a couple that are super interesting with respect to weight gain, weight loss, with hunger, with satiety. And basically, these are all affected by our sleep. So have you guys ever heard of the hormone called ghrelin? Like the grrr of a tiger. And I kind of keep this straight in my mind because ghrelin helps you to want to eat. Like it enhances your cravings. Like this goes up when your stomach is empty, or, when it's been a few hours and you're kind of thinking about food, and it's not that grrr from, the Kellogg's, I think it was, what was it? Tony the Tiger, the Frosted Flakes. It was like grrr, it's not a good thing. Like when you don't sleep, your ghrelin, this appetite hormone goes up. So in other words, when you're not sleeping or when you're deprived, you feel more hungry. Like this is physiology. You actually feel more hungry. Have you guys ever had the quote unquote late night munchies? I know I have. And a lot of people struggle with this. I did, especially, while working all night long as shift workers. What do we tend to do? We get a little hungry, we snack. And usually when we're snacking, we're looking for whatever's available. I remember at work, we had literally a drawer with like leftover Halloween candy that people would snack on all night. It was like terrible. It's like the worst thing, but it was readily available. And we were, more hungry because we were sleep deprived. So this has been shown in numerous studies. The hunger hormone, ghrelin, goes up when we don't sleep, or literally in as little as one night that we are sleep deprived. This hormone goes up. And when it goes up, we're just hungrier. We want to eat more. Literally. I mean, there's other studies that show that those that are sleep deprived, that sleep less than their 7 hours, they can eat up to as many as 400 additional calories per day. And I think part of this is related to the increase in the hunger, from the ghrelin. But the other part of it could be related to the fact that they're just awake for more hours. They have more time to, get bored and get hungry, right? So here's another little reason to go to bed a little earlier, right? So you don't have those late night cravings. And when we do that, it's going to help our hormone levels, but it'll help with so many other things that we've discussed previously, that sleep enhances our mood, it enhances our focus. My favorite thing to talk about with respect to sort of this energy and focus and clarity that improves with good sleep is brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, and that goes up with good quality sleep. When we sleep less, it goes down. So literally, if we have chronic insomnia, chronic decreased sleep, chronic lower hours of sleep, which is what I had for many, many years, I didn't sleep that much. And I kind of prided myself in that. I thought, sleep is for, those that can't handle, like I could survive off 4 to 6 hours. And I was totally wrong. And what was happening is I was getting dumber. Like literally the brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is kind of like the steroid for the brain that increases your memory. It increases your alertness. It increases all kinds of amazing processes in the brain that allow you to focus, to make new memories, to learn new things. That level goes down when we don't sleep. And that could be putting us at risk for neurodegenerative conditions like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia. Is not sleeping well, we have less of the brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, and more chances to develop these neurodegenerative diseases. So we don't want that. We want to be focused. We want to be alert. We want to have that ability to build new memories, to learn new things. And part of that can happen with good quality sleep. In fact, you guys have heard of get a good night's sleep before the exam. Well, it's not only before the exam, right, that we learn in school, but we need a good night's sleep every night. That's the way to solidify our memories in the brain, called hippocampus. With this brain-derived neurotrophic factor, we got to sleep. So super, super, super important. So we've talked about ghrelin, that hunger hormone that goes up when we don't sleep. We've talked about BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which goes down when we don't sleep. There's another hormone called leptin, which kind of works with ghrelin. It's kind of the opposite. It's the one that helps us to feel full or satiated, so we don't want to eat more. And not surprisingly, when we're not sleeping well or enough, that's not happening. That hormone is getting lower and lower, and so we feel less full, less satiated, and with that ghrelin that's up that makes us hungry, it's even a double whammy. Like we have two stimuli here that are making us want to eat more. The increased ghrelin and the decreased leptin, which is that satiety hormone. We don't feel full, so we want to eat more. So the late night munchies is like a real deal physiologic phenomenon. It's not you or I being weak or having loss of willpower. It's not that. It's the hormones. Blame the dang hormones. It's the reason that we can struggle with cravings and with eating more food, junk foods and things like that, hyper palatable foods, what I like to call the food-like substances when we don't sleep, because these hormones get messed up. There's also another interesting phenomenon, which is even a triple whammy, if you will, that when we're sleep deprived, what's interesting is that our sense of olfactory, which is our nasal, our sense of smell, like literally that is heightened when we're not sleeping. And this is probably something teleologic from years and years of evolution when we were out in the savannah, so to speak, hunting our food. Like if we went way too long without eating, this was probably a mechanism to tell us, hey, we got to go find something. Like our alertness to smell, something to eat, a berry or something, it was heightened because in those days there wasn't a bunch of food available. There wasn't a pantry. And so you can kind of imagine why this might be set up that way, so that we would have a heightened sense of smell when we were hungry, when we wanted to eat. And so it's a triple whammy, if you will. When you sleep less and you get sleep deprived, you're going to crave more due to the ghrelin that goes up, the leptin that goes down, and this olfactory phenomenon where you actually are more hyper acute to sense those smells, and especially the hyperpalatable foods like the snack chips and granola bars and the things that you can't eat just one of. Like these are problematic, especially when you're sleep deprived. You're going to have a harder time not eating them for all of these reasons. And it's hormones. It's not that you're weak. Remember that goodie drawer I talked about when I was at work in the hospital late at night? Like it was hard to resist that because of these physiologic mechanisms. It was hard to resist that. So another hormone that gets messed up when we don't sleep is cortisol, that so-called stress hormone. And this stress hormone is supposed to keep us alive. So when we're up all night, it notices. And it's like, well, why are we up all night? Something's got to be either dangerous, something's got to be going on that's a threat. And so that hormone level called cortisol goes up when we're not sleeping enough. We have decreased sleep duration, or when we're not sleeping well, we don't have sleep efficiency or quality. The cortisol goes up. And when cortisol goes up, it messes with everything. You guys have heard me talk about insulin resistance. This is that phenomenon that literally 88% of us in the world, almost 9 out of 10 people have insulin resistance because we have something messed up in our body, either with our metabolism, with what, we're sleeping too little, we're eating the wrong foods. Insulin resistance is any time that insulin goes up in our body and stays up, which is basically every time we're eating carbohydrates, especially if we're snacking on things that aren't awesome for us, that are laden with carbohydrates, that insulin goes up. And insulin's main job, 2 jobs. One is to take the glucose out of the blood so you don't get hyperglycemia. But the second job is to store that sugar, that glucose, for a rainy day, because that's the way we evolved. We didn't always have food available. So it wants to, more than anything, it wants to store that sugar that we just had with any kind of carbohydrate. It wants to store it for a rainy day. And it's very efficient at that. And what's interesting is during times where we're not sleeping well, literally the metabolism, it's kind of interesting. It's either stable or worse, in the sense that it wants to hold on to our calories even stronger. It wants to store them as fat because the body sort of thinks that, oh crap, we're up so many hours. We may or may not have the same food available. We need to hold on to those calories even stronger, and we'll be more likely to make them into fat. And so this is counterintuitive. Let's just step back a minute. You would think that if you're up more hours, you would expend more energy just because you're up longer. Well, actually, the data does not suggest that, doesn't support that. In fact, often it's shown, it's kind of mixed. It's either neutral or worse, that when we're up longer, we're up more hours out of the day, we actually have a lower metabolism, or lower metabolic rate, or the so-called daily expenditure goes down, or is at least neutral, even if we're being up 16, 18, 20 hours a day and only sleeping 4 hours. The body is literally hanging on to those calories. And so another reason that sleep is so important, because your body's working against you here. It's not your fault that it wants to hang on to calories stronger when you're not sleeping well. It thinks it has to keep them for that longer period of time. It doesn't know that we have pantries and we got food available to us. It doesn't know that. It's just trying to hang on to these calories. So super interesting phenomenon that occurs when we're not sleeping enough, or the quality goes down, as our metabolic rate either is the same or it actually may go down a little bit which is like the worst sabotage, right? If we're trying to lose weight and we're not sleeping well, the body is actually making it harder for us to lose that weight because it's hanging on to those calories. So super interesting, a lot of cutting edge research being done in this area, and something that we just wouldn't have thought about. I think the thing we do think about is that we're just up more hours, and I kind of alluded to this earlier. So if you're not sleeping well or enough, you're just up for more hours and you have more time to eat. So that's part of the equation. Like I mentioned, it's depending on what study you read, you eat 300 to 500 more calories a day when you're not sleeping well. So we're having more calories that we consume, and we're actually using them less. So it's synergistic. It's a double whammy of sorts, because that increased calories will make us, gain weight, and our metabolism not speeding up, in fact, possibly even slowing down, will make it even worse for us. So sleep. So dang important, guys. So dang important here. All right. So interestingly enough, when you look at like I kind of alluded to, the palatability of foods when you're sleep deprived, this changes. And I think anybody has noticed that's been, up all night doing an all-nighter for school, for work, or whatever. Like, there's a reason we want those, whatever, chips or popcorn or chocolates or whatever all through the night. They just become hyper palatable. And what's interesting is this, once again, it's physiologic, it's from hormones, but also, I mentioned the smell that is heightened, the olfactory, but the dopamine system. You guys are familiar with this, the so-called reward system. This is also enhanced, when we are sleep deprived. It makes these foods just sound better. Like for me, I used to have this vice, like I would always stay up late. I get home from a work late night, at the hospital or whatever. And then like I'd want to come home and just eat a bowl of ice cream, And I just had this craving all the time at late night, eat a bowl of ice cream. And the reason for that is the dopamine reward system is enhanced when we are not sleeping well, when we sleep less, or when we have less quality of sleep. It's not lack of self-control. It's literally hormones and neurochemicals. These are neurotransmitters, dopamine. It's not your fault, guys. Don't blame yourself, but you can easily fix this with good quality sleep. It's so interesting because the other thing that comes into play here with respect to these cravings, hormones, and such, neurotransmitters, is that when you eat those, not so awesome foods that come with the 3 Bs, a bag, a box, a barcode, full of carbohydrates, usually additives, preservatives, artificial colors, flavors, sweeteners, and all that. When you eat those things, they actually promote the growth of bacteria in your gut, your so-called gut health, that are not awesome. They're the ones that actually within them, they send you messages. Like literally these bacteria send messages to the brain that say, eat more chips, eat more candy bars, eat more popcorn, like whatever it is, they literally send messages to the brain to eat more hyperpalatable foods. So once again, it's not you being weak. It's these bacteria are literally sabotaging us when we feed them, because what we feed breeds. So in other words, if we want the good bacteria in our gut to be helping us and wanting us to not have these cravings for these so-called hyperpalatable foods, we got to eat the stuff that the good bacteria like. And that's the prebiotics, right? Prebiotic fibers like asparagus, my favorite, Brussels sprouts or broccoli, kale, all this green leafy stuff that's full of fiber is what keeps the good bacteria prevalent and overpowering the bad bacteria. So this is gut health. Gut health is literally affected by our sleep. Like who knew, right? Did you guys know that 95% of the serotonin in your entire body is produced in the gut? Like no joke. Only 5% in the brain. That's where it's used, but 95% is presented, or I should say produced, in the gut. So another important reason to pay attention to not only optimize, but prioritize your sleep is for better gut health. Because when that gets messed up, you're going to be craving those sugary things, those highly dense carbohydrate things, all those artificial things. And it's just this bowling ball that just gets worse and worse that's rolling down, because it promotes, the more we eat that stuff, the more the bad bacteria are overpowering our good bacteria, and it just gets messed up. So changing what we put in our mouth or what lands at the end of our fork will affect this gut bacteria, which is also affected not only by what we eat, but by our sleep. If we're not sleeping well, the not so good bacteria gets favored and it starts to overtake the good bacteria. So another important thing to do, and besides the fact of what we put into our mouths, is just the timing of it, right? We all know that if we eat right before bed, I'm getting more exposed to this now that I'm going to be turning 50 real soon, is that I get reflux or GERD or heartburn if I eat too late at night. But not only will I get that, but it messes with my quality of sleep. This has been shown in the literature as well. When we eat too close to bedtime, that it affects our sleep. We don't get good quality sleep. So my rule of thumb is about 3 hours before bedtime, we should stop eating, okay? We can drink, you can have a tea that's not going to contain any caffeine. Please no caffeine after about lunchtime, because the half-lives of that make it such that it takes about 8 to 10 hours for that stuff to get out of the system. And so if you're having caffeine after lunchtime, that might be keeping you up. Or alcohol at bedtime, not awesome for your sleep. It might help you get to sleep quicker. And I'm not saying you can never have a drink at night, but just don't make it every single night, right? Or don't make it late, because when you do that, you might feel sleepy and fall asleep, but it really messes with your quality, and it messes with your ability to get into the deep restorative sleep. You'll wake up more later in the night. You won't get into that deep sleep or the REM sleep, and you won't get the benefits of sleeping when you're drinking alcohol right before bedtime. So we talked about that a little bit. We talked about metabolism. The other interesting thing, and this might be intuitive, is that when we are not sleeping, despite the fact that we still have about the same energy requirements, and our metabolic rate is not increasing even though we're up for more hours, what also happens typically is when we're not sleeping well, guess what else we're not doing well? We're usually not exercising, right? Because we're probably too tired. We just don't feel like it. And if we sleep well, we're going to be more likely to exercise the next day, which has its own myriad, sundry, many benefits. We can't get into it right now, but literally 100 different both health and mental and physiologic, emotional benefits from exercising. And if we're not sleeping well, we're just not going to feel like it. So another reason to get good sleep, so you'll be more likely to exercise the next day. And it's just all this beautiful, I talked about the synergism of when things aren't going your way, when you're not sleeping well, but when things are going your way, when you're making sleep a priority, all the opposite effects are true. The brain hormone, brain-derived neurotrophic factor goes up when we sleep well. It enhances our ability to want to and to do and to perform exercise. I've heard that certain athletes literally sleep 12 to 14 hours, to be able to have this enhanced ability to be able to perform. Your performance is affected by your sleep. Now, I'm not saying we need to sleep that long. Typical person is between 7 and 9 hours, but when you don't sleep, you're going to be less likely to exercise, less likely to have the energy to exercise. And dang it, even though you're up all that extra time, your metabolic rate actually doesn't improve. If anything, it gets worse or stays the same. So we got to get to sleep. We got to prioritize our sleep, right? So we can also feel like the next day we want to exercise. So super, super important, guys. I hope you've taken away a few things. I'm going to just give you a couple quick bullet, rapid fire pointers on how to get a good night's sleep. I did several podcasts on this previous, so I can't really get into all the weeds and the data on this, but simple stuff. Number one, it's routine. Make a sleep schedule. Like, what I do? I know it sounds kind of corny, but I set that bedtime alert on my phone. And once that rolls around 10 o'clock, it says, hey, time to start thinking about going to bed. I'm an early riser. I'm usually up by 6, often before that. If the waves are good, I'm up at 5. So I try to be in bed by 10 if I can, and having a reminder, having a very, just repeatable schedule that we do daily. It's got to be something that we get in the practice of. Even on the weekends, if you can, try to have the same sleep schedule. Try to still get your 7 to 9 hours of sleep on the weekends. It might be a little bit altered where you go to bed a little later and you get up a little later, but try to keep it mostly the same. So routine is everything. Having a really dark room, blackout curtains here are important. Like for me, I used to buy them for my kids because I didn't want them to wake up, but now I buy them for myself because I don't want to wake up. And I turn all the lights down. I don't have any alarm clocks that emit light, all the things that emit light in my room, I unplug it at night. Got to turn off the phone, as we mentioned. Like, you got to keep that stuff, the electronics, away from the bed. The bed in the bedroom should be used to sleep. I call it the sleep cave, nice and dark, nice and cool. Crank the AC up in that one room or whatever it is. Like, cool helps. Lots of data on that. Quiet helps. Whatever you can do to help with that. If you have lots of exterior noise, get a get some kind of a noisemaker that's, more pleasant, this so-called white noise over the airplanes or the trains going by or whatever it is if you're in a place like that. For me, it's roosters. In Hawaii, there's like these guys, forget the fact that they get up at dawn. Like dawn for them is like midnight, like all night long these cocks are crowing, like literally all night long. And so I often will close the windows at night, turn on the AC, try to keep it as quiet as possible. Lots of other things we don't have time to get into, like sleep, enhancing, let's say we'll call them different supplements. My number one favorite, I'll just mention it, is magnesium. Magnesium is natural. It's a mineral that most of us are deficient in. Magnesium glycinate is amazing. Magnesium threonate is also amazing. It actually gets into the brain, the blood-brain barrier. I love, love, love that. Lavender is good. A couple other things that promote sleep. I'm not going to get into all of that. I talked about it in my previous podcast, but the basics are make it a routine. Make that bedroom your cave or your sanctuary, your sleep sanctuary. Get rid of all the distractions and get rid of all the lights, the blue lights. Put that stuff away at least an hour before bedtime. You got to prioritize your sleep. And I promise you, if you do so, for me, it's been night and day. Just ask my wife if you wanted to know me, 15 years ago when I was sleeping 4 to 6 hours a night, or even 10 years ago where maybe I upped it to about 6 hours a night. We had a bunch of young kids and stuff, and I knew I needed some more sleep, but I was unwilling to do the full 8 hours. I just thought, like I was trained, it's kind of a waste of time. And it's not. I've completely repented of that. Sleep is my superpower. I love to sleep. I feel great when I sleep. I know you will too. You'll feel more energized, more focused. Your brain will be sharper, more acute, more abilities to learn, that brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Your metabolism will be better. It literally will be better if you sleep. Also, your hormones will be so much better. I forgot to mention that even testosterone and estrogen are both affected by our sleep. Like literally, this may be one of the issues in menopause. When estrogen goes down, estrogen has some kind of satiety effects that during menopause, the hormone levels are going down. And so that can cause some cravings and weight gain in ladies. Like it's hormonal. It's not you. And in guys, same thing. Testosterone goes down if you're not getting good sleep. And we don't want that, right? We want to have the ability to build muscle, our sex drive, all these things that come with testosterone. And if we don't sleep well, it goes down. And it's in the data, but I've measured my own. And when I was sleep deprived, working late nights in the hospital, being up all night, I had low T. I had insulin resistance. All of these things I'm telling you about, I've had these things when my sleep hasn't been good. So make sleep your superpower. It can be that one thing, a real game changer in your life. And the cool thing about it is it's free. Generally speaking, might have to invest in some blackout curtains or something, or some duct tape to tape up the night lights or whatever that might be in a hotel room or whatever, or electrical tape works real well, comes off a little easier. But it's basically free. We got to make it a priority. We got to make it a schedule. Turn the alert on your phone. Make it a regular deal. Be aware of these hormonal things. It's not your fault. You're not being weak. It's physiology. It's normal. You guys are amazing. Love you guys. So pumped to be able to share these important, messages on sleep, on its ability to enhance all the good things. And when we don't get it, it increases a lot of the not so good things. But it's easy. It's free. All of us can do it. So I hope you'll reach out to me if you have questions. Follow me at Aloha Surf Doc or at Modern Medicine Movement. You guys know I have a book coming out this summer, Preventable, 5 Powerful Practices to Avoid Disease and Build Unshakable Health. Sign up for my free newsletter and you'll find out when. I'll get you the exact dates on that. So excited for that. It's going to be amazing. I have the goal to save 100 million lives. So help me in that. And until next time, aloha.